so everything came crashing down, and the PTSD hit you quite hard. There were times when you considered suicide or you attempted to take your own life. Can you maybe talk us through some of the things you went through in that period of time, the attempts on your life and self-harm that you put yourself through?
I think when I talk in that space, it's almost a bubble burster for me. I think there's this, for people who have not gone on that journey, and, I pray that everyone listening has not gone on that journey because it's revolting, that we all have this kind of real Hollywood perception of what suicide and, self-harming looks like. And I think for me, it was incredibly different. When you think about self-harming, you think about cutting your arms, you think about the classic, girl lying in a bathtub bleeding out, stuff like that. It just wasn't like that for me. I had what was diagnosed as psychosis, but also brain disassociation. So my brain decided to create other problems to fixate on because I didn't want to deal with what the trauma was that I hadn't dealt with that had manifested over so many years. So, that space was very different for me. So, hanging yourself and cutting yourself and all of those things that we sort of considered to be cliche self-harming suicide stories was really different. And it was little things like, I can remember one night being in the bathroom, my hair straightener fell on my toe, cut my toe open. And that felt really good because I had something different to focus on. And I was, so deprived of anybody being able to connect with me or understand the journey that I was on, including my husband at the time, that, I made sure I dropped that hair straightener on my foot another 10 times. So it was really, really hurt. And that we could talk about that. It was something we could connect on. It was something he could say, oh my God, are you okay? Whereas that was something he could never say to me, or my friends could never really understand with my mental health journey. So I think sometimes it's just about connection. Sometimes it's about, just those little cries for help that sometimes, potentially go unnoticed in people because we do have that cliche idea of what self-harm looks like. So, the suicide stuff was constant. There were days where I had a watch, an old-fashioned watch with a second hand, and I would sit there and I would watch that second hand get to 12. Every time I go, thank God I've lasted another minute. I'm here for another minute. I'm here for another minute. So sometimes that's what it gets down to. And I think what I have learned and what I teach people is to look out for very different ideas of what suicide and self-harm looks like, because for every person in every situation, it's an incredibly different translation of that.
Yeah, and it's a commonality between a lot of the other guests that we've had on the show that have talked about their own suicide attempts on their life, that it's a constant battle and it's something that doesn't go away. It's up and down, but you're constantly fighting for air. Is that the same way you felt about it?
Yeah, 100%. You try, like people often say, suicide's so selfish. Yeah, maybe it might be, but when you're in that depths of agony every second of every day, and it's unrelenting and there is no waver in it, it's just bad all the time, that is the only way that you can see out, the absolute only way that you can see out. And if you don't have people around you who pick up on those things, who are on the journey with you, it is the most lonely, terrifying, suffocating, unimaginable time. I still, when I try to write about it or talk about it, I still actually can't find the words to try to tell people the level of pain I was in every second of every day. And so, yeah, that really does seem like the only way out. And I get it. I get when people take their lives and it's horrible, but I actually really get it. It really resonates with me because there's just something has to give at some point,